the challenge now lies in the fact that the entire 15 miles of river upstream are spotted with all kinds of man-made debris that first have to be identified and mapped.
Yeah.
And, all that has to be done also in the face of a lot of safety hazards on the river. That the river's not the same as it was geomorphically or channel-wise. Channels have been moved, the waterfront's been moved. There's masses of biodebris, biomass everywhere that is really dangerous because it's shifting. You have logs and debris hanging in trees where the floodwaters were, 20, 25 feet above the normal river height. So if you look at recreational use, which normally during the summer would occur, you'd have groups of kids playing on the beach, and now you've got debris hanging in the trees.
After the hurricane, we went out to the Todd area after a river drill, and we got photos of some of their kayaks hanging from the trees out there.
Oh yeah,
along that part of the river. So
yeah,
and I can only imagine with Wilson's Creek, just the geography of it, where it sits right at the base of Grandfather Mountain. So everything up above it.
It was a massive deluge, and it had to be, if you were down there when this was taking place, if you could have filmed what was happening from a drone or above and the sounds, it must have been apocalyptic because you're in mudslides and masses of timber, flumed down in that, water volume, bending bridges and taking away houses. I mean, it had to be just pretty crazy.
I can only imagine, especially not just what happened in 2024, but 100 years ago when they had that big storm that I think wiped out or tried to wipe out most of the town of Waterway, but that area was really impacted then too.
Yeah, it was. I think it was definitely a three-peat of. It was the third of massive floods. Some people, the folks that study these things, are feeling like this one, in terms of volume of water, was actually bigger than the other two.
Yeah, I think you're right about that.
Yeah, some of the landscape had changed enough to where, like the center we operated out of, the old 1930s Mortimer Base Camp, it didn't get flooded or breached because a new bridge had been put in recently near there that I think diverted some of the water. But
that's pretty fortunate.
Yeah, there were. It was probably most fortunate that no lives were lost, and boy, that was some really close calls. There were some people that were right there on the edge of probably being drowned that escaped, and that's always pretty traumatic. So they were lucky that nobody lost their life that night or those 2 days.
So, kind of going back a little bit, what you're talking about when you're starting this effort to keep the creek clean for people who swim there, fish there, just recreate there in general. I'm sure in that process, like you said, you have to learn to work with a lot of different groups who also have a stake and who are also passionate about preserving the river. And I'm sure as the post-Helene efforts began and continued, kind of relationships only really kind of strengthened and helped get different groups down there to not only look at the environmental damage, but also the people who live down there who maybe had their homes washed away.
Right. Well, the first priority we had after the flood in early October, once we were able to get down there and the roads were cleared, which took about a week, to get down in there to see the damage, the first priority we had was toward the community, helping the community, helping the Betsy Store community and campground. It was really almost a feeling of a village that had been bombed. People were kind of shell-shocked. There were about 5 residents who lived in campers down there, kind of tentatively, and didn't have a lot of other place to go. Then the Betsy's management and the folks that ran the store were there. And then further up road, there was quite a large Edgemont living community, people that lived and commuted in and out of Edgemont, and one of their major bridges was completely gone, isolating several houses. So the first thing that happened was Caldwell County government and the sheriff's department got food and supplies and water in there to the folks. And then it was just a matter of weeks and weeks passing where people tried to get grounded about where to start, what was needed. And of course, what was needed initially was to get the bridge, temporary bridge put up so that people could walk, crosswalk to their homes. And then the actual bridge was rebuilt in a pretty short period of time, in about a month and a half. So
That's pretty incredible. Just
yeah. The attention to the roads was amazing by DOT. I still boggles my mind how they were able to reopen so many roads so quickly, given the level of the damage that were done and the amount of boulders that had to be hauled in to shore up banks and recreate bends in the road and river.
I can only imagine what that effort was like, just beginning with everything. Just because if you go down there, people that haven't been down there, I mean, it's a very narrow area,
right?
Just to get along, and everyone has the experience of people coming around a corner and trying not to hit each other hand on or nick each other's cars.
Luckily, I missed on that count a couple of weeks back during the ice storm and had a head-on collision with our truck. So
I've been down there before where they're trying to pull jeeps and different things out of ditches.
Yeah, it's been a challenge for the last since the world in Western North Carolina as a whole, as you know, has changed dramatically.